Dan Senor knows Brett Kavanaugh, and they both served in George W. Bush's administration. He's been talking to Republican members of the House and Senate. Dan, good morning.
Good morning.
Is Kavanaugh going to be confirmed?
I think he will be. I have never seen more, since Trump really has been elected, I've never seen more unity among Republicans and conservatives than right now. So there is a segment of the Republican electorate that's either anti-Trump or ambivalent about Trump. And those folks, particularly in suburban districts, suburban congressional districts, and in certain states, there's always been this sense of lack of enthusiasm among those Republicans. In other words, they couldn't distinguish between Donald Trump and the Republican Party. The whole thing was chaos to them. The whole thing was frustrating to them, and they didn't want anything to do with it. For the first time in the last 10 days, I think the Kavanaugh dynamic has transformed that and brought all Republicans, regardless of what they think of the president, home.
Well, the news cycle barely lives in this world we have now. Does that sustain that enthusiasm you're talking about?
So we got 4 weeks. Let's just talk about that to the midterm. That's a long time. So if you look at around June, if you look at the generic ballot in June, Democrats had a considerable advantage over Republicans. And then, Republicans had tightened up with Democrats. And then over the summer, you had two big things happen. You had the child separation policy implemented, and you had Trump meeting with Putin at Helsinki, which was politically a disaster. And then you saw that generic ballot get wide open. So now it's narrowed again. In 3 polls, we've seen the enthusiasm gap and the generic ballot gap shrink. It's 4 weeks. It's Trump. You know, he could inadvertently change the subject any moment, and it would set back Republicans. But if the subject is Kavanaugh, the way Kavanaugh was treated, I think it is unifying and energizing for Republicans. There are 8 states for the U.S. Senate that will determine the balance of the Senate. 8 states that are in place. 6 of those states, there are more Republican voters than Democratic voters in those states. So if people are amped up in the next 4 weeks, those states will probably go red.
As somebody who knows Brett Kavanaugh, Dan, were you surprised at how he played it at the Senate Judiciary Committee hearing? Because now temperament has become an issue. Should it be? And were you surprised at the way that he behaved?
Look, it should be considered in the context. So did he get a little hot? Yes. Everyone who raises that charge, I say to them, if you had a senior U.S. Senator, Dianne Feinstein, basically citing charges that were orchestrated by Michael Avenatti, that you led a gang rape, charges that were unverified, uncorroborated. I mean, I say to everyone how would you respond? So he did get a little hot. He's acknowledged that he got a little hot. Other Supreme Court justices have been intemperate at times. I think you have to look at the totality of his career, 300 opinions written, 12 years on the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals. He was, the ABA, even the ABA, which the president called for an extended FBI investigation, the ABA still stood by their recommendation that he was qualified and had the right temperament.
But you have a former Supreme Court justice saying that because of his temperament, he should not be convicted.
Right, and you had in 2016, you had Ruth Bader Ginsburg giving an interview with the New York Times, openly campaigning against Donald Trump and saying she was going to move to New Zealand if he were elected. I mean, at times, the Supreme Court justices are human. And sometimes they say things that are inappropriate or political or intemperate. I just think given all that was going on, this swirl, what Brett Kavanaugh did was not disqualifying. That's why I think he'll get confirmed.
Dan Senor, we'll be watching. Thank you.
Good to see you.